Yeah, we back.
Hey, we live now, really.
Hey, we live? Hold on. Can you see me? Wait. Hey, can you see me? What's going on, my beautiful people? Welcome back to another episode on or with Golden Gemz Media. All right, make sure, hey, you do me one favor. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And then make sure you send this to your mama, your daddy, your best friend of another friend, Lit Johnny, Lit Timmy. Don't forget about little Susie too. Make sure you send this up, but make sure you send this to everybody that you know. You understand me? Please. Don't do it for me. Don't do it for me. All right, do it for little Susie because you know she needs these gems. All right, stop being selfish. All right, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't be selfish. You know you can't. All right, it's a crime if you keep all these gems to yourself. You understand me? But my good folks, yeah, we back with Nolan Wells update. And like I told y'all, we gonna get to the bottom of this thing. And it's a lot that has been said. There's a lot that has come out. And today we got to get into it all. You understand me? So once again, before we get started, hit that like button, blow up that like button, because today we got to talk about Nolan Wells. All right. So if you're here thinking I'm talking about Shador, I'm talking about the Chicago Bears, I'm talking about sports, NFL. No. Today we get into a real topic. And our real topic is about what happened to Nolan Wells. And today, Nancy Grace. Oh my goodness. Can we drop a bomb for goddamn Nancy? Just cuss. Nancy Grace has released another video. And this video is quite interesting because she gets into a lot. All right. And without further ado, why sit, why wait, why ponder? All right, let's go ahead and get into it. We'll talk about it. I'll give you commentary during it. All right, Nancy Grace has just released a video. We ain't gonna watch the whole video because I got a couple other clips that I want to get to because I have major updates for you today. Literally, major updates. All right. And honestly, even before we get to this, like, let's just go ahead and start with this. I think starting with Ben Crump and some things that he had to say, I think will be important. So we're gonna start with Ben Crump. Ben Crump has, as of recently, he's done multiple interviews talking about the Nolan Wells case and giving us basically updates about what's going on. All right, so we're gonna watch both these videos actually before we get into what Nancy Grace had to say and everything that she found. We're gonna go ahead and get into it. Without further ado. All right, Ben Crump, as he addresses the emergency call that we've all heard by now and that we've all examined, and as he addresses some other things that is going on with this case. All right, let's get into it. Ben Crump, come to the front of the congregation, baby.
For the people that's unfamiliar with that case, can you break that down?
Certainly.
So he's brave. So what he's about to do, and today we starting at the very beginning because I might have some new audience members in here. If you're new, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button as well. But I might have some new listeners in here who aren't too familiar with this Nolan Wells story. And Ben Crump is going to give you an update about what happened, why there's such noise around this case, and more details will come to follow.
Nolan Wells was an 18-year-old Black teenager who on 4th of July was celebrating with his friends, and he went out on Horn Island. He went with his 3 other friends, at least what we have in the photograph, and they were young white teenagers. He was the only Black teenager.
I'm sorry, Ben.
And somehow they all came back home safely on the 4th of July, but Nolan Wells did not come home. His mother, their families announced that he was missing. They were, out of their mind with concern. And then his body was found washed up on shore 2 days later, face down, dead. And so then everybody started to try to say, well, what happened? when you look at the videos, they were 300, 400 people out there. And what we've been saying, somebody knows something, somebody saw something. There was a young lady named Katie who said that, you know, she was talking to Nolan, but then he got back on the boat with the people he came with, or got back on the boat with the boys. And the boys who were on the boat with him said, Nolan said he was going to stay behind with Katie, and that he was not going to go back with them. One of the things that has been bewildering is the fact that if he says he's going to stay behind, why doesn't an 18-year-old get their cell phone? If they
And that is the moral of this god dang story. It's not whether, you know, the boys were involved, whether the boys did something, allegedly, or whether Nolan's death was an accidental drowning of some sorts. What it really comes down to is having these unanswered questions answered. And Nolan Wells not taking his phone off the boat, knowing that he about to stay on the island, and then Bart and his homies, reportedly, this is from Warren, his friend who did the interview. You probably seen it by now. He said Bart kept on telling him, get in the boat, Nolan, get in the boat, but he insisted that he wanted to stay back. So if he wanted to stay back, why wouldn't he take his phone and grab his phone off the boat, Warren? That is a question. We ain't blaming nobody. We ain't pointing the fingers at nobody, but these questions are questions that need to be answered. So let's continue.
they're not going to go with the boat, why would they leave it with them? His mother, you know, called his phone 3 times, got no answer after they started getting concerned. And it was when they did the Life 360, you know, trying to say, find my phone, is when she found out that the phone were with the friends.
Right.
And so her friend went to get the phone. And when they got the phone back, they discovered that there were a lot of Snapchat messages that were deleted. They also found that there were some texts deleted. So that was very concerning to them as they're trying to figure out, you know, what happened to my child? Our child is dead and we have no answers. Nobody's telling us anything. And so it became just an incredibly painful ordeal for them trying to find out what happened to Nolan Wells. And then America became engaged in this matter because it wasn't adding up to anybody, you know.
And that's the thing. Like, the reason I feel like this case has gathered so much attention because a lot of it don't add up. Like, if we really being honest, this Nolan Wells story in this case, a lot of things just don't add up. And yes, there may be answers for some of these questions that we have. There may very well be. And I'm not blaming them or I'm not blaming them. But at the end of the day, we got to eventually get answers. Because right now, we just lean on to our own understanding. You know, sometimes that could be a bad thing.
He says, I'm going to stay behind, but he leaves his cell phone. He doesn't have his car keys. You know, well, if he's staying behind and you don't have any of that information, people are saying, did he stay behind? And so that becomes a question. And, you know, obviously there's this CETO audio that comes out that people have did forensic audio engineering on it to try to see what was being said on the audio recording of the CETO kind of 911 type call. And it's in that call that people say they hear certain things. We have retained audio engineering experts to be able to decipher and to render expert opinions on the validity of the CETO 911 audio that seems to suggest things about the presence of Nolan. And so we are trying not to speculate. We're trying to investigate. But
he said we're trying not to speculate like like us in the media and us on, you know, the internet. We speculate, but they trying to actually get to the bottom of what happened with Nolan Wells. And with this, you gotta understand, man. You gotta understand. Yeah, they're gonna get to the bottom of it. And that is why now we're gonna switch to Nancy Grace, because Nancy Grace, she brought up the fact that this audio is surfacing. She brought up the fact that this audio may have believed or may be believed to be altered. But she's about to tell you why potentially this audio that we hear, the audio that's been circulating online, Nancy Grace. Yeah, let me just let her get into it.
They could have been saying "don't die" or "is it dead," referring to the bilge pump. Somebody would have seen something if there was a dramatic commotion like this occurring on that boat.
I hope Nolan Wells died by accident. I'm not shutting down our crime stories investigation until I know.
Yeah.
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can you all please come? We have a membership.
See, they saying he said, see, now even Nancy has changed, the transcribe to say, they said, get the fuck up. At first, some people said they thought he said, wake the fuck up. In that instance, I'm going to be honest. I feel like Wyatt, who was on the phone, he was telling them, shut the fuck up because, bro, I'm on the phone with Cito. If Cito hit you, that could be a big problem for us. So I believe that's what happened.
What'd you say?
You know, if that sound is real, there's no getting away from that. And all this business about there's no connection. Well, I listened to a good 40 seconds of Cito, SEA, second word TOW on hold, listen to their music. There was plenty good connection. But before I can even get to the death threats of blood, so much blood everywhere, and don't step outside, and more, before I can even get to the grand jury, before I can get to the autopsy that's being kept hidden from us, I want you to meet someone very important, critical to this investigation.
Talk to him, Nancy. Who is it? But real quick, sidebar. Y'all see how Nancy is continuing to play this goddamn audio? Nancy is continuing to play this audio. If you haven't heard it, let's listen to it one more time for the people all the way in the back. Why has she continued to play this audio if it's been altered? If she can potentially get sued for continuing to play it?
I'm not shutting down our crime stories investigation until I know.
Listen. What do y'all hear?
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can you all please come? We have a membership. What'd you say?
You know, if that sound is real, there's no getting.
She's playing this sound for a reason, y'all. Why is she continuing to play it over and over if she can potentially get sued, chat? Or if it's been altered. Nancy Grace is a former prosecutor. She's a former lawyer herself, practicing law in the United States of America. She's a person to be reckoned with. And she knows the ish. Why is she continuing to play this audio if it's been altered, if it's not the real audio from the Mississippi Department of Resources, Marine Resources? My bad. But just think about that, chat.
Is the audio engineer who enhanced the 911 call, the Cito call, in the Nolan Wells case. So everybody claiming some ding dong on YouTube did it, or somebody on Insta or TikTok did it. No, she did it. I've spoken to her. I've read her statement. I want you to judge her credibility. Credibility is normally the sole province of a jury, and tonight you serve in that function. Miss Brantley, I'm sure that you're getting all sorts of abuse, threats, and so forth. It's a cacophony that seemingly won't cease. Yeah. That said, Thank you for being with us tonight.
We
Explain to
appreciate
me
Thanks for having me.
where you got the audio, how you got the audio, and what, if anything, you did to enhance the audio.
Talk to her, Nancy.
First and foremost, I basically downloaded it off of YouTube from WLOX News's YouTube site. And when I downloaded it, I ripped it off of YouTube. That's the terminology that we use when we take something off of YouTube. But when I ripped it off of YouTube
Pause.
and I pulled it in.
Pause, please. Objection. Miss Brantley, isn't it true
Yes.
that the audio you got was taken directly by XLO from MDMR, correct? The Mississippi Department of Marine Resources. Isn't that true?
Yes.
Okay, please continue, Miss Brantley.
So when I downloaded it from YouTube, I pulled it into my DAW, which is Logic Pro X. That's my DAW of choice. And when I first listened to it, I realized that it was like a dual mono recording, which most, most phone services or operators utilize when they're recording conversations. And so it was already split between the caller, the dispatch, and the callers in the background. And so that's what made it easy for me to isolate it without having to do much to it. So that isolation, when I separated the left channel from the right channel, that just made me be able to really focus on everything that was on the call end. And what I was hearing was I honestly could not believe what I was hearing.
Miss Janetta Brantley, isn't it true this is the same audio that was released by the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources?
Yes, that is absolutely correct.
Let's listen to it one more time.
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can you all please come? We have a membership. Shut up! Shut the f*** up! What'd you say? It's coming up. We're just sinking. I don't know. We're going down.
Real quick, Nancy, why are you still playing this audio, Nancy, if it's supposed to be altered? If you can potentially get sued if it's fake. Oh, you playing it because it's not fake. Because they can't see you. Because you got it from the Marine Department of Resources. The Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, they released this audio. And all they did was use their professional abilities, engineering abilities, and I don't know what I hear. Chat, you tell me what you hear. I don't know.
I don't know the phone number. It's either. I think it's. Try that. Everybody was on this phone. I know we have a membership, guaranteed. I don't have the tag on here. It got ripped off. What? No, we do not need that. Let me go look.
Let me go look.
Where is this?
So
Hey,
if you
jump
only
in and
send
pull the
their
plug
audio.
while you're going.
Take it out of here. Take it out of here.
Hello.
Take it out of here.
Okay, what's going on? What's up? Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can y'all please come? We have a membership.
And she's showing exactly how she did it.
Go. Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and
The fact that she's actually showing us how she did it, I don't know. Chat, what you believe? I don't know what to believe. You tell me, chat. We believe
Our village stopped working. We're going. We're stinking. Can y'all please come? We have a membership. Hello. Look up. David Bart. David Bart. David Bart.
What y'all hear, chat?
Back to Janetta Brantley joining us tonight, and she shows herself in that video showing what she is doing. What does adding EQ mean, Ms. Brantley?
What's adding EQ, Ms. Brantley?
Adding EQ is basically selecting a certain frequency of the actual sound and either deleting or removing a certain noise, something that's problematic to the ear, deleting that or boosting that. That's literally all EQing is.
Interesting.
What was your process, Janetta? Because I was sitting researching. It was early in the morning, like 5:45 a.m. several days ago, and I was researching the Nolan Wells case, and I saw the transcript as it was being played. And my husband was also up. He said, "What's wrong?" I'm like, if this is real, this changes everything. It changes everything. Because up until that point, it seemed as if Nolan's death could very well have been an accident. If this is real, it changes everything. It's seismic. What was your reaction when you heard these words, Janetta Brantley?
I think at my core, I was in disbelief. I wasn't cleaning it or enhancing it to specifically look for or identify a crime or even point the fingers at anybody. I believe I wanted it to be an accident. I think a lot of us wanted it to be an accident. So when I heard those things, when I heard, damn it, Bart, that name stood out to me because I hadn't even heard that name before. As I was listening to certain things that stood out to me, I was in disbelief because, again, I'm just an audio engineer. I'm not an investigator, a detective, or anything like that. So when I heard a name that I wasn't familiar with, it stood out to me, and that alone made me want to hear what was immediately said after "Damn it, Bart." And so that's why in that process where "Damn it, Bart" came in loud and clear to me, I decided to go over to the next part to hear what the rest of that statement was, which is where you saw me actually create a loop over that part, split that part, and then add a gain, which the gain is boosting the volume overall. And that's pretty much what you saw me do in that actual video. And so to hear, "Damn it, Bart, Nolan's really dead now," that I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it.
My reaction too, Janetta, because when I first heard it, I thought this has got to be doctored. This can't be real. Don't move. Straight out to veteran trial lawyer Franz Borghardt, a veteran trial.
So, chat, real quick, how do y'all feel about the audio? Do we think it was altered? Do we think someone else had something to do with it? I'm just asking because if the audio is real, audio engineers and FBI experts will be able to tell us what was really said on that audio. And it could be they're talking about the bilge plump being dead, the boat being dead, They can't drive it no more. The boat was sinking, right? In 31 foot of water, right? All that fancy stuff, right? But you got to ask yourself the question, what if the audio is real? Then what? What if what we're hearing and what the transcripts that everybody's playing and putting out, what if that's real? Then what do we do? Then what do we think? I'm asking, chat. Let me know, chat. Let's get back to the video, though. Nancy, what's up?
Law firm out of the Baton Rouge jurisdiction at Borghardt's law firm. Franz, take off your defense hat just one moment.
This guy.
I have introduced wiretaps many times at trials, which are very hard to get, by the way. And I've never had one that I believed was doctored at the time because they were taken by law enforcement. This is from a completely independent source with no dog in the fight, no skin in the game. It's from dispatch at CETO. And if this is real, this blows the case wide up. Now, you saw Janetta Brantley. You've heard her. I have no reason to disbelieve anything she's saying.
So if I'm prosecuting this, I'm worried that I need a witness in 2026 to exclude the possibility that it's either AI generated or doctored, just like you suggested. And I think that she's very credible, but I think we need to go one step further. The other concern I have, Nancy, is if the independent autopsy is showing inconclusive death results, now I really want to see the other autopsy to see, is there trauma to the body? Is there something that happened? These are the concerns I would have as a prosecutor. But we've now opened the doors to these guys may in fact have committed obstruction of justice.
Hold on. You're putting the cart before the horse. Before we talk about obstructions such as allegedly lying or covering something up.
Let's say that's, I don't know.
You've already mentioned two distinct lines of inquiry. One is that the audio that Janetta Brantley enhanced innocently, I believe, had been already AI or doctored. Okay, let's follow that through to its logical conclusion. You just throw that out there like a stink bomb at the circle. You know what a circle meeting is, right? In the United Methodist Church, all the ladies have circle meetings. Okay.
Talk to him, Nancy. What's that?
To suggest this was doctored but before Janetta got it means it had to have been doctored or AI created by who?
By who?
The Mississippi Department of Marine Resources. No, don't just go, that doesn't work in court, Burkhart's. You can't just throw, that's like the sod defense. Some other dude did it. What dude? What are you talking about? So you're saying AI doctored by who? If it's not Janetta, then who? She got it. The same sound that was released by the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources. What? You think they doctored it?
There is nothing normal about this case. And if
that's not what I asked you. I'm asking you to explain your premise, and you're not doing it.
I said if I were a prosecutor, I would want to be able to establish with expert testimony that what we are listening to is real. And I would want a witness because I'm telling you, with this case, with as viral as it's been, I'm not disagreeing that it's real. I'm saying I would want to be able to bolster that very credible woman's testimony, and she is very credible. I have no doubt that what we're listening to and what she did is credible.
How about we just bring in the lady who was on the other end of that call with CETO? How about we just subpoena her? Miss, what did you hear on the call? Miss, how did you feel when you were just trying to potentially send him somebody to get towed? How did you feel? Did you think something was going on in the background? Is this really your voice on the call? How about we do that, y'all? Chat, can we just do that to solve all this? Bring in a woman who was on the other side of the phone on CETO. Miss, is this your voice? Is this you? Are you on the other end of that call? Miss, what did you think was going on? What did you think when he said, do you need Marine services? And he said, no. I'm just saying, chat.
The issue is, I don't know if she can go the distance to say,
okay,
right,
got it. She cannot testify as to whether MDMR had enhanced it or doctored it before it was released. But see, the problem is,
that's facts.
You would have to ask someone to believe a clerk or an official at the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources doctored this before they released it, to the extent that nobody could understand it until they enhanced it. That's a hell of a doctor job. Okay, so you did that. Then you got into the medical examiner findings. Okay, what was your theory on that? Very quickly.
Very quickly. If he's dead on the boat, how did he die? It should be conclusive. It shouldn't
Okay,
be inconclusive.
hold on. Zip. Joining us right now, Joseph Scott Morgan, renowned death investigator, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University, with a premier criminal pro department and building, author of Blood Beneath My Feet, star of a hit series, Body Bags with Joseph Scott Morgan.
With what they were seeing at the scene, and perhaps the audio does fall into this, these statements. And I think that probably from a medical legal perspective, that is the coroner and the medical examiner are going to want to be able to fully appreciate what is being said here from a timeline. This is absent the police's investigation. They're going to try to rule in or rule out what they're seeing medically he did do a thorough, what's referred to as a layered dissection here. He could not establish the causal effects here.
He did a layered dissection, he's saying. A layered dissection. Chat, what's that?
Because the injury or the insult that you see there, this presentation, is compromised by decomposition. So what did the state medical examiner see?
And that's the thing. The state medical examiner / the state person who did the autopsy, the medical examiner, they're saying the autopsy is complete. But we can't see it because it's going to a grand jury, even though it's supposed to be public, though. Right? All autopsies is actually supposed to be public. Just throwing that out there. Nancy will get to it, though.
The problem is here, Nancy, how was the body treated before or after the first autopsy and the body is transported up to DC? I have questions about this because they're talking about to the degree with which the body was decomposed. The doctor up in DC is seeing significant decomposition. We don't know what they saw in Mississippi, but I do know that you're only talking about and I'm ballparking here, please give me some grace, maybe 48 hours tops before the medical legal authorities have seen the body. So how far degraded is the body to compromise any of this? And this evidence is going to have to be borne out. Not just.
All right, y'all. All right. Let's get back to Ben Crump real quick. All right, we're gonna get back to Nancy in 2 seconds. But we'll get back to him.
We are asking questions that don't add up to us. And that's what everybody's been doing, because everybody says, how can this 18-year-old college football player who's in tip-top shape just go missing and nobody knows anything? Nobody's seen anything. And the sheriff, within, hours after he was discovered, his dead body, they claimed that, that no foul play, accidental drowning is what they suggest. And his family are saying, we can't accept that when you make that conclusion without doing no investigations. And so what they want is a full, impartial, fair investigation into what happened to Nolan Wells. In our community, we see people investigated very zealously. And so we want the same thing for our children. We want them to zealously investigate this matter, just as if they would if the roles were reversed. And that's what I think has people in the minority community saying, hold on, we want to know what's on everybody's phone. We want to know social media, because all of that could become very relevant information as to what happened to Nolan Wells.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the woman that Nolan was hanging out with when he was at the island, Katie, her sister Gracie, came out and said that.
What Gracie say? Gracie came out and said
back
what?
to the mainland with his friends, right?
Yeah, there seems to be a conflict in what they're saying. They said he stayed with the young lady. The young lady said no, he got back on the boat. And so, that seems to be one of the biggest issues that everybody is trying to figure out, as well as the independent autopsy where he had red discoloration at the back of his brain.
Right, and that's what the last guy was talking about. But if we're talking about it, chat, if we're getting to it, right, if we're having a conversation, the questions that everybody are asking and want to know are just simply like questions that you would ask just in general, without blaming one side or the other. Getting to the bottom of it, figuring out what really happened, what really occurred, what really went on. That's the ultimate goal of all of this, is figuring out what happened to Nolan Wells. Especially if the last witness that y'all say, Katie, saw him, right? But Katie said he went with y'all. But y'all said he went with Katie. That's the number one Glenn question. Number two, why would he leave his phone on the boat? Like, you can get into all these other conspiracy theories. You can get into maybe this, that, I don't know. Comes down to two questions. Did he go with y'all on a boat, or did he stay with Katie back on the island? Then if he stayed back with Katie on the island, how do y'all have his phone? Warren, you said that y'all was begging on him to get on the boat, begging on him to get on the boat. How come he wouldn't get on the boat to grab his phone, then tell y'all, all right, y'all go ahead, deuces? Then his phone would have been with the body. Simple.
Is packed in. There were hundreds of people out on Horn Island on July the 4th. What? Nobody saw what happened to Nolan Wells?
Look at Nolan right there, peeking his head. Nolan, what you looking at, my guy? But this is another video that has surfaced. Another video of Nolan right there. You see him with the shades on in the water. You see these boats are all tied right together, right next to each other.
Wells?
You see Nolan right there. If Nolan is there, and then look at all these boats out there, all these people, all these boats. You mean none of y'all saw what happened? Nobody. Nobody? Oh, okay.
They all
look at all these
just
left
with him standing there stranded, waving his arms like Gilligan. That did not happen. Now that you're seeing this, what is an innocent explanation? I'm trying to figure that out. Joining me, and I'll circle back to you, Joe Scott, because I got a lot of questions regarding the way he could have died innocently and been left behind, and that sound being true. The sound that Janetta Brantley enhanced. Is there any innocent explanation? Is there a way, as my favorite judge often said, Luther Alberson, it is your duty to make all witnesses speak the truth and impugn perjury. The Teslin Figaro podcast. Ms. Figaro, thank you for being with us.
Appreciate you.
I'd like to hear your thoughts.
What's your thoughts, Ms.?
Well, that's what the family is saying. They don't believe he died by accident. That's the point. That's the reason why Nolan Wells' mom is saying, I don't believe this. I don't believe he died by accident before we had the audio. The audio simply confirms that there are additional questions that needs to be asked. It wasn't just one thing they said in the audio. They said Nolan repeatedly in the audio. They said check his chest in the audio. They said, is he dead in the audio? And also, notice this, Nancy.
See, I don't know if that's there. I don't know if that's all, if they said all that. Right, chat? We don't know. Right? We don't know. We don't know. It's supposed to be altered. It's supposed to be fake. Might be AI. We don't know, chat. But I'm just saying. She making some good points.
Did you notice that the operator also said, is anybody breathing? Who says that? What operator says, who all is breathing on the boat? So is this all the audio, Nancy? Is there more audio? That's my question.
I want to look specifically, Teslin, at what was said. At one point, we think, you killed him? He's already dead. He's already dead. Is he dead? Yeah. Nolan, OMG, wake up. And as Janetta stated, then she hears a completely different name, Bart. Now, we also hear, and I'm very curious, the phrase, no. Teslin Figaro, was that a nickname of Nolan Wells?
I cannot confirm if that's a nickname of his or not. But what I do know is we heard Nolan. What I do know is we heard check his chest. What I do know is that we said, is he dead? What we do know is we heard screams. There's folks out there suggesting that perhaps they were talking to a seagull or perhaps talking to some random bird that was flying around that's called No.
I heard that one, dog. I heard that one. It's a bird that they was calling. I heard that one. That was pretty funny. Anyway, sorry. This is not a funny. I'm sorry. My bad.
There were folks out there that suggesting, well, maybe they were talking about the boat. Come on, we got to knock this off, Nancy. We heard what we heard. And so we were to put this before a jury.
Also, we hear, damn it, Bart, No-No's really dead. Damn it, Bart, No-No's really dead. Repeating it over and over and over. According to reports, his nickname, one of them, is No-No. Back to Tesla and Figaro. What is Nolan's mother's theory about what happened in light of these tapes?
Before we even had the tapes, her theory is I told my son, I've raised my son just like I've raised my 19-year-old the same way, Nancy, like I'm sure you raise your children. Come back with the people you went with. Her theory has always been that he is a fantastic swimmer, that he is an athlete. Her theory has always been that he did not drown. Her theory has always been that there's something wrong with this picture. Her theory has always been that the fact that, you know, he left his phone and left his keys. Her theory has also always been that he did not just go off with some random stranger and say, guys, don't worry about it. Just leave me on an island. Her theory is the same thing before this audio. This audio only confirms what this mother already knew.
Hi guys, Nancy Grace here. If you
All I'm saying is if she's not stating facts,
into the double murder and proven guilty, everyone, beginning Susan Hendricks, we all know that everyone in our country is innocent until proven guilty. And regardless,
what? You sure, Nancy? You sure they innocent until proven guilty? Because I can name a few cases that. No, let me be quiet.
Of how you or I or anybody else feels, that includes the young men on the boat with Nolan Wells. We have a lot of questions that have to be answered. Is this sound real? Has it been enhanced? Who enhanced it? Was it AI or doctored before Janetta Brantley pumped it up so we can hear it? I want you to hear another version.
You can see that I have the CTO channel completely muted, so we're only listening to the callers. Then I go through and simply raise the volume of all of the chatter we hear at the beginning of the call.
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can you all please come? We have a membership.
Nancy playing all these audios. She don't care. She says, sue me. I'm a former prosecutor. Play with me if you want to. That's because Nancy, hey, Nancy believe these calls. I ain't gonna lie, Nancy. We see it all over your face. Because you like, are they serious? They got to be the dumbest criminals. Yes.
Susan,
we don't know, chat.
That was enhanced
right?
by my producer, Sydney. I know her like that. Susan, that was enhanced by my producer, Sydney. I know her like that. I asked her, enhance it the best you can. She, again, has no interest in the outcome of this case. She pulls up, quote, want me to cover him up? I mean, Susan, weigh in.
Chat. Nancy literally just played. We're going to play that audio back in 2 seconds. But Nancy literally just said, I had somebody independent who has nothing to do with this case. Somebody independent who has nothing to do with this goddamn case. I had them look at the audio. Take it off of the Marine Department of Resources. CTO dispatch call, who has no ties to it. That's why she played the audio again, because she said, I trust who enhanced this audio. Holy shit. So that means it's real.
Hear another version.
You can see that I have the CTO channel completely muted, so we're only listening to the callers. Then I go through and simply raise the volume of all of the chatter we hear at the beginning of the call.
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can you all please come? We have a membership.
Susan, that was enhanced by my producer, Sydney. I know her like that. I asked her, enhance it the best you can. She, again, has no interest in the outcome of this case. She pulls up, quote, want me to cover him up? I mean, Susan, weigh in.
I was listening to the enhanced version, both of them now, not doctored, by the way. There's a big difference there. Have you ever heard, Nancy, on Instagram where you listen to two things and your mind goes to what you're thinking of, like green car or moon boat? What are we really hearing? I believe that something nefarious did happen. Where I think the answers will be, again, this is my opinion, but I believe something happened there and we're not hearing the full story. And you pointing out, Nancy, how crowded that area was. So let's say what people are claiming, that it was an accidental drowning. No one saw. Look here at the crowd. Nobody saw what happened. And all of us have our phones on us all the time. No one recorded this. I think the answers are in the timeline and also the autopsy, when we will hear answers there.
You're seeing video from the Officer Tatum show, and I don't know what they were trying to show with it, but
Chat. I'm not saying not a word. They saying it all. I'm just observing, just like you, chat. Views from people who don't look like me. I'm showing you unbiased opinions right now. People with no dog in a fight. You heard Nancy say at the beginning of this video, she just wants to know the truth. She don't got no dog in the fight. So what they
how can someone be dead and floating in the water and nobody notice?
Nobody know?
Which leads me to, Susan Hendricks, the fact that we have learned tonight that the state's autopsy is complete, but it's being kept secret.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Being held for the grand jury to look into that. And the fact, as you brought up, Nancy, earlier, that part of his throat was missing, will that be key? There's so many questions around this, but right, it's a public record, but we're not hearing about it. I guess they're waiting for the grand jury to show them that first.
Joe Scott Morgan, death investigator. I've never known an autopsy report not to be a public record unless they're claiming ongoing investigation.
Yeah.
Now, in the D4VD David Anthony Burke case, the LAPD demanded the medical examiner keep it secret because the medical examiner's office allegedly was leaking information, possibly for money. Don't know that yet, but I will. How common is that the medical examiner is ordered not to release the autopsy? Why is the autopsy being kept secret?
Because it's continued investigation. They're going to go to grand jury with this. I can tell you that. I'll bet you dollars to donuts if that's the case. We see it with, we saw it with Idaho 4, right? We didn't have it there. We don't have it with Charlie Kirk. You know, that's an ongoing event. This is being investigated. And, you know, the point of contact here is an interesting situation here because you have the state medical examiner, but you also have a county coroner. The state medical examiner provides a service to the county coroner. The coroner is an elected official. He does not do these autopsies. And so the coroner is going to be the gatekeeper relative to any kind of document. But with that said, under state statute, the DA, the prosecutor, they can say, look, you're going to hold off on releasing this report. So it's being held at this point in time. Now, the reports that we're hearing are saying that it is complete. Now, what does that mean? Well, if you have a complete autopsy report, that means they've got tox, they've probably got histology, which is going to be the tissue study. A question be called and summoned to speak to this. And when is the medical examiner going to be called and summoned to speak to this? That's
facts, because the medical examiner needs to be called and summoned to speak to this. Right, y'all? But dog, I'm showing y'all unbiased opinions. We starting with Nancy Grace for a reason before I get into all my other people. Just saying.
That's what everybody's going to be hanging on, in my opinion.
Hold on. Joe Scott, you mentioned the tox report. That's a blood panel done. Was he drinking? Was he using drugs? A lot has been made.
Or had he been given something?
Witnesses stating Nolan was drunk. Okay. Does that really change anything? Does that change anything unless he died of acute alcohol poisoning? Because I guarantee you ain't anybody on that boat that's afraid of a cocktail. Okay. So if he was drinking, what difference does that make?
It makes no difference.
And whether he was killed or whether he died of an accident, Joe Scott.
Well, listen, Nancy, I know you're a teetotaler, but let me tell you something. The drunker you get, the more alcohol you take on board, it lessens your ability to defend yourself. It lessens your ability to make good decisions. And so we see this played out all the time in the medical legal world. And that's going to be the measure here, I think, relative to tox. Everybody wants to see the toxicology because that's going to give us an idea chemically what is in this young man's system. Was he able to do for himself at that point in time? And that's another problem that arises here.
It's a double-edged sword, Joe Scott. You can argue rightly. He was drunk and could not defend himself against an attack. Right. You could also argue he was drunk and hit his head, and then they go, oh, my stars, he's dead. Yep. But wouldn't that have shown up in the autopsy if he died by a blow to the head, be it accidental or nefarious? Wouldn't that have shown up?
Yeah, and keep in mind the second physician that did the autopsy, who, by the way, is highly respected, the former chief medical examiner for D.C. that was retained by the family. He didn't see any evidence of fractures. All right. Now, that doesn't mean that there wasn't a concussive event. I'm talking about being hit in the head, and you can have stuff that's contained within the cranial vault that might not be presenting. But again, back to what I said earlier, I find it very interesting that this doctor is commenting on the state of the decomposition when he sees the body, and that's problematic. It's very problematic when you're trying to make an assessment. You're already absent the organs of the neck. You're absent intact lungs. And, because the specter of drowning is on the table as well. So if you want to make a thorough scientific assessment, he's kind of handcuffed, isn't he, at this point? And again, going back to this idea, how long did it take them to get his body to DC, and why was it in such a state of decomposition when it arrived?
Yeah. I just wanted to complete that check because he's saying some good information and some quality facts. I don't want you to hear from non-experts. I don't want you to hear from all these YouTubers and these other commentators. I want you to hear from people who actually are vetted in doctors or are vetted and they also have credentials. Nancy brings people with credentials. And I'm here for it.
Hi.
Hold on, chat. Hold on. Let's get into this.
That was found in the second autopsy, and also the fact that the initial state medical examiner kept possession of Nolan Wells' throat, and we don't know why they did that. Our pathologist, Dr. Roger Mitchell, said when he was the chief medical examiner for the city of Washington, D.C., that they normally would do that, that it wasn't uncommon if they suspected that there might be some fracture or some compressions to the throat.
So after y'all did the autopsy, from what you know, what do you believe that was on the back of his neck?
We can't speculate. We know that
So with that, remember, let's not get it twisted or confused. Let's remember, all right? Everybody in the congregation, come to the front of the room real quick. Let's remember, they kept the neck. His neck, his lungs. Yeah, you're going to keep the lungs because you want to do some further investigation to see if there was also any water in the lungs. But why? Why did they? Why did they keep the neck? Why? Asking for a friend.
We think Dr. Roger Mitchell should have the benefit of looking at all the autopsy notes and observations and photographs from the first autopsy, and then have, the state medical examiner be able to look at all of his notes from the second autopsy and try to work together to figure out what conclusions that they can draw from the autopsies, both of them. And then also waiting for toxicology. That becomes a factor in finding out the manner and cause of death. But Dr. Mitchell said, and this is a very, very important, he said, if it's a drowning, then that still doesn't answer the whole question of what happened to Nolan Wells, because he said then there are questions about, was Nolan Wells' condition of his body conscious or unconscious when he went into the water? Furthermore, he said, did he go into the water unforced or forced? He said all those things become factors.
Facts. And those things will play into account. I promise you. Let's get back to Nancy.
Number one, they don't take that long unless you want them to. Toxicology results, number one, they don't take that long unless you want them to.
Coming from a former prosecutor, autopsy. I said autopsy. Toxicology reports. Nancy, you said toxicology reports don't take that long, Nancy. Interesting.
Number two, there is doubt. If he died by accident, having consumed a lot of alcohol, was there a cover-up? Or did he die from a nefarious act? So the alcohol intake could cut either way, Franz.
I think you're spot on. I think that the reasonable doubt, if someone gets arrested and accused of this crime, is going to be if the toxicology shows a high BAC in the absence of anything else. What you yourself said, could it have been foul play where he couldn't defend himself, or foul play in so much as he got injured because he was quote unquote drunk? That remains to be seen. But I don't discount the fact.
Put him up, please. Let me see, Workhart.
I don't.
You're saying foul play, but it could have been something as simple as horsing around on the boat and him hitting his head. It could be somebody whacking him in the head. It could be finding him in the water face down. And this mark on the back of his head is some type of fluid disbursement, which I don't believe, because it was nowhere else on the body except right there. And if your blood is going to sink to the lowest level upon death, it would be all over the body, but we're not seeing that. So why is just the occipital have the deep red markings? So many, many questions. And let me stress, before you bother sending me another death threat, we don't know the answers. These boys, these young men on that boat could be completely innocent. But when I listen to this sound,
what happens when you listen to it, Nancy?
There are a lot of questions. Back to Teslan Figaro, who is joining us. She's the host of the Teslan Figaro podcast. She is a social justice and political commentator. Have you noticed that people are making a lot of the fact that Nolan was, quote, drunk? A, how do they know that? And B, does it make a difference?
Yeah, well, I've absolutely noticed it, that he was allegedly, they're saying he was drunk, and it doesn't make a difference. And let me ask you this, Nancy.
It doesn't make a difference.
If he was drunk with other teenage kids, he certainly wasn't drunk by himself. So if he was drunk, why was he the only drunk one that ended up dead? Secondly, if this was an accident, let's say he just got so drunk and just passed out, why didn't anybody report it? So even if it was an accident, even if he got drunk, which I don't believe, by the way, even if all those things happened, why did his so-called friends not report it? That's the part that we're missing. So if Where's the answers to that, Nancy? He just went and just said, I'm just going to be drunk and just go in the middle of the ocean and just die with hundreds and hundreds of people who are around, who are watching. Nobody saw anything happen. His friends didn't see anything happen. And again, I go back to this tape. I will not sit up here and pretend that I did not hear what was on that tape. And I ask again, even the operator said, who is breathing on the boat? Don't you think that's strange, Nancy? Who's breathing?
Yes,
on
when I
the
first
boat?
heard that, Tesla, I thought I've never heard a dispatch say who's breathing. What? Did she hear all that in the background and do nothing, or did she hear it and say something and release it? We don't know, man. We got to paper everybody with subpoenas to get to the bottom of this. But I want to go to George Olivo and everybody on the panel. You're experts in your own right. Please tell me if you want to jump in. Please, I'm not clairvoyant. To George Olivo joining us. He's a former FBI special agent and polygraph examiner at georgeolivo.com. Okay, George, listen to what Officer Tatum told me. Back to Officer Tatum, star of The Officer Tatum on YouTube.
Hotels.com is where you go to choose from hundreds of thousands of hotels and earn rewards on every stay. It's exactly what it sounds.
Jesus Christ, my bad, y'all. My bad, y'all. I ain't like that. That's why that happened. I ain't like that. I'm not. My bad, chat.
Have the friends taken polygraphs?
Well, from my understanding, all but I believe one took a polygraph, and from what was told to me that they all passed, and all of the ones that took a polygraph took one without a lawyer. And they cooperated with law enforcement. So from my understanding, everybody took a polygraph test.
Why do you say that's from what you understand? Did they tell you they took a poly and passed?
Yes, ma'am. They told me that they did it. I wasn't there. So that's what I'm saying from my understanding. They told me that all the boys except one, which is Warren, I believe, took a polygraph test. All of them did not have lawyers and did it and cooperated with police. Warren also cooperated with police. I just believe he didn't take a lot to take the test, but Warren is the young man that I interviewed. So according to what they told me, they all took a lot to take tests and passed. And it's an equivalent of a lot to take the test. It's not a traditional lot to take test, but it's the same theology of trying to get to if a person is lying. I don't know the name of it. It's an equivalent of a lot to take the test. It's a different methodology. I don't believe it was a polygraph test. I believe they took other stressors in order to analyze if the people were telling the truth or not.
Did they take a polygraph would be no.
Exactly.
He's charming. He's well-spoken. But that was no. That was a no. They did not take a polygraph test, and not all of them took the, as he is calling it, the equivalent. Okay. George Olivo, in my experience as a trial lawyer, there is no equivalent for a polygraph. Tell me the various bodily indicators a polygraph measures.
Talk to me.
So polygraph does have very specific markers, and we're looking for physiological changes in baseline or truth signature. So we're looking at things like respiration, heart rate, electrodermal activity, which most people interpret as sweat gland activity. We're looking at peripheral movements to try and determine if someone's trying to cheat on the test. So it's quite extensive.
Is it? Warning about a type of real estate fraud called a Nansen. As I recall, just off the top of my head, a polygraph measures things you really cannot control unless you can have studied and practiced beating a poly. Involuntary physical stress responses, blood pressure, heart rate, breathing rate, whether you're sweating, tubes around your chest and abdomen track your breathing, and even not just how fast you're breathing, but the depth of your breathing. Does your breathing become shallow? Do you have to pause and take deep breaths to calm yourself down? A traditional poly measures cardiovascular activity. There's a blood pressure cuff on your arm, and it measures your pulse and your blood pressure fluctuation.
Is that right?
It also measures what's called electrodermal activity. What is that? I've had to explain it a million times to jurors. Sensors attached to the fingers measure your sweat gland
activity. Okay, we get it. We get it. So we know what a polygraph is, right, chat? All right.
Are you a polygrapher? Were you? That's how that would work. Person in that.
Nancy, and analogy is not just
Officer Tatum is talking about. To what is he referring?
I think, and he was kind of cryptic, maybe intentionally or unintentionally, maybe he didn't really know, but it sounded like he was referring to a voice stress analyzer. Those are these machines that detect micro stressors electronically in the voice. The research is very weak on that and that type of technology. I guess it's better than nothing, but the bottom line is, I mean, and I'm speaking as a polygraph examiner, and I'm saying this, no diagnostic tool, and you know this obviously, should but
well, I mean, how to up front before the polys even.
All right, y'all. I think that we hit the nuts and crannies that has to do with this case. All right. But if you haven't heard, the friends looks like they trying to get a little cheese off this case, man.
I'm here for a Nolan Xavier Wells update, and just when you thought it couldn't get any more tasteless, the boys have made a give, send, go. Friends of Nolan Xavier Wells who were targeted have a give, send, go for $100,000. Can you believe that? They are saying that their lives have been turned upside down and destroyed. And like, what do they need this money for? Can anybody answer me that? Anybody out there?
I'm trying, Sam.
It's insane to me. Like, are they going to take that money and donate it to Christine and the family?
I don't know.
Because that's what I would think best friends would do. Like, what do these two need money for?
Ain't they parents like doctors and lawyers?
It is so shocking to me.
Interesting.
And so nervy that your best friend disappears.
That's true.
Is no longer with us. And just because the way you guys handled it, you deleted all your social media accounts. Not normal to act after a friend passes away and there's nothing at all to hide. We're not saying you did anything. We're just saying the behavior is very suspicious. And so people had questions of that. You were targeted? What about Christine Walmsley, how her entire business was targeted? What about people saying she's a terrible mother, coming after her? Officer Race Tatum making his whole entire life and show about a mother who just lost her 18-year-old son.
Yeah.
It's disgraceful. I'm sure they'll raise the $100,000, but so did Chud the Builder. That's what this is. This is Chud the Builder energy right now. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Secret Service saying.
So how do y'all feel about that real quick? Real quick. Let's have a serious conversation about this. How do y'all feel about that? Oh my goodness. My bad, chat. How do y'all feel about this? Because I got a question. Why do boys whose parents are doctors, lawyers, need a GoFundMe or go send me, whatever it's called? Why do they need that? I'm just saying, like, yeah, they got, things that they got to do, but Secret Service Sam, I need you to break this down for me just a little bit more, my guy. Please, please, please. I'm confused. Why would they start a Go Send Me?
Sam here for a Nolan Xavier Wells update. And if you couldn't believe it could get any tackier, these people have now started to give, send, goes me. Some lady named Tracy Schleckler, allegedly. I don't even know. You can go check it out for yourself. Check it out right here. They are trying to raise $500,000. Like, this is so disgusting. Like, are you guys going to do a give, send, go for the family? Like, I've never seen, and all they are talking about, racism. Like, you guys are doing all the racism. You're Mississippi. You're Mississippi. Has nobody seen the movie Mississippi Burning?
We're going to leave it right there, Sam. But why? Why? And then y'all plan on suing Benjamin Crump? Y'all gonna sue Ben Crump and Al Sharpton? Y'all gonna sue them? Secret Service Sam, why they suing them? Talk to me.
I'm here for a Nolan Xavier Wells update, and Al Sharpton is not playing around with these lawsuits. He is saying, bring it on. Check it out.
Ours is unconditional. Then another one talking about they're going to sue us. Well, let me tell you something about lawsuits. If you sue us, which would be something that I would welcome, because then we get our attorney and you as plaintiffs would have to come in and be deposed. And I'd like to depose all of those involved so they would have to tell us what they did, what they didn't do, under oath.
Ooh, is that right?
Under oath. So bring in, you can drop it off right here, the paper's right here in hand, so we can get the deposing, since none of these young boys are saying nothing. You file a lawsuit, they gonna have to say something. And they gonna have to not only talk, I want to see their cell phone logs. I want to see all their social media. Let's open it up. Let's let it go.
Secret Service Sam, you're hilarious. But anyway, Nancy, one last word from you.
The parents' fault because the child was out on the street. Hadn't have anything to do with me. I just gave him a ride before I killed him. That said, you can't leave anything open to interpretation, just like you and I are describing. So when I would agree to a polygraph, I never stipulated it would come into court, ever. But when I would agree to a polygraph as an investigative tool, I would take part in selecting the questions and creating the questions. Because frankly, let's just be honest, George, a voice stress test where the prosecutor or the investigator is not in charge of the questions ain't worth a hill of beans, technical legal jargon. That means nothing to me.
I'd agree with you there.
Let me put it more clearly. Voice stress test, my rear end. That ain't coming into court. In fact, I wouldn't even pay any attention to it. Now, you give me a polygraph where I help fabricate the questions? Maybe. I want to know who is the polygrapher. Is he somebody the defense hires all the time so they're beholden to the defense? No, I want somebody like Olivo that did it with the FBI. So telling me these boys, as they call them, they're young men, took, first it was a poly, then I find out it's a voice stress test, took a test and they passed. Oh, except one of them didn't take it. That means nothing.
Are you wondering how much it will cost you to start up a company in Dubai?
Oh, Jesus Christ, YouTube. Just when we get into the good stuff. Seriously, chat. After this, I promise you, I got a whole bunch of videos pulled up for you. But I just wanted to get into Nancy because Nancy, she's a credible source, unbiased, brings reliable people that we can, probably not take their word for it, but we can lean on to our own understanding of what they say because they are, some of them, most of them are legible. Oh, Jesus Christ.
8, then a poly with questions approved by the state. Then I'll pay attention. Right now, it's really not worth the salt that goes in my bread. You know what? If I wanted someone to pass one of these lie detector tests, I'd go with a voice test like these young men took. I wouldn't let them take a polygraph. Susan Hendricks joining us, investigative journalist and reporter. Death threats, including one that says, blood will be everywhere. What was that?
That was from a man out of Sacramento, now arrested and threatening the judge who is the stepmother of Warren. And talk about frightening, saying a lot of blood. There'll be a lot of blood like there was on the boat, but yours will be much faster.
The perp is Joseph Alfredo Vasquez Dumars,
Don't send death
arrested
threats,
Thursday on charges of interstate transmission of threatening communication. Now, these are federal documents. What did he threaten one of the young men's mom with, Susan?
The threats were against Warren, one of the boys on the boat, his stepmother, who is a judge. And it was graphic. It was brutal, saying there will be blood everywhere, threatening her life, talking about on the boat, saying
it really
will be
does. It says that he is sending a bomb to her office that will, quote, blow you away when you see it. Once that package is open, the timer will start. Then you have 10 seconds or less to ask God for forgiveness. So much blood everywhere, hard to clean, especially from a boat. That was in that letter. And there is another death threat, Susan Hendricks, to Mississippi law enforcement saying, don't go outside. What happened with that?
My bad, y'all.
Yeah, Cincinnati, Ohio woman calling two officials out of Mississippi several times, more than 25 times. Here is her mugshot. And you're right. Don't go outside, saying there's a bomb. So the threats are they're taking them seriously, as they should, and 2 arrests so far.
That's right. A woman now accused of bomb threats to government offices related to the Nolan Wells investigation. This is an Ohio woman facing federal charges. Michelle Francine Edwards, just charged in the U.S. District Court, Southern District, Mississippi. 1 count, transmitting threatening communications to interstate commerce. Okay. Nobody can do their job appropriately when they're under a death threat. That's against Mississippi law enforcement. Trust me, there are people within law enforcement that are trying to do the right thing. Threats on one of the young men's mothers. That's not all. Teslin Figaro, Nolan's family, has gotten threats too.
How come nobody?
Absolutely. And, you know, I don't condone violence on anybody, but I do want to put some context behind this, Nancy, as well. I was a police officer in the Air Force. You're talking about government officials, meaning I'm sure the judge has received threats. I'm sure the police officer has received threats, although they should not happen. But these are individuals that have taken, just like you and I, have taken on, you know, positions that it comes with the territory. You have received death threats. I have received death threats. So the people that's not being talked about that's received the death threats is Nolan Wells' mother and father. Why is nobody talking about the death threats with them? They've reported it. Why isn't anybody arresting the people who are actually harassing the victims? It's online. It's available for people to see. So I just find it very interesting that there's so much sympathy for a police officer who not only do they receive death threats, they put their life on the line. They signed up and raised their hand to say, hey, pick me for the death threats and pick me to give my very life, as I did in the Air Force. So it is not right what is happening, but we also have to shine a light on the actual victims, the actual people who are grieving the loss of their son, and nobody gives a damn about the death threats that they're receiving.
I want to be very clear, Ms. Figaro. You say nobody cares. That's not true. I care. I care.
Nancy, funny as
I
hell.
care about the death threats on Nolan's mother and his family and his team. I also care about death threats on one of these boys' mother and on law enforcement. And yes, my first death threat, oh my goodness, came back in the 80s. But guess what? They faxed it to me from the Fulton County Jail. So that wasn't much of a mystery. But with every time you take a position, you make people angry. The thing is, if these threats, including the ones on Nolan's mother, the mother, you know what I'm doing all night long till 2:00, Miss Figaro? I'm packing my children to go away to college. That's what Nolan's mother should be doing tonight. She should be getting him ready to go back to school. Instead, she's visiting his remains. And now death threats. We want justice in this case. We don't want secret grand jury proceedings. We don't want secret medical examiner reports. We want all threats investigated. We want the truth behind that audio. I want to know. And I want everybody on that boat polygraphed. We want answers. If you know or you think you know anything about this case, dial 228-769-3066.
And at the end of the day, Nancy, I'm right here with you. We want answers. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. We need answers. That's all anybody wants. Now, let's get into this. Because we ain't done, y'all. Y'all thought that was it? Come on now. Yeah, I told you I got clips loaded, baby. Let's get into it. Oh, I'm lying. Oh, I'm lying. Jesus Christ.
Time making this video because they keep taking it down because they don't want you to see what I have found. Katie has dry snitched, y'all. Here we see Katie's Snapchat where she's wearing a teal swimsuit and she's with a girl in a blue and white striped swimsuit. On this video of the 3 boats, you're going to see a girl in a blue and white striped swimsuit right here on Bart's boat. And right next to her with the same long wet hair is a girl in a teal swimsuit on Bart's boat. Make sure you have your brightness turned all the way up because here we have Katie in a teal swimsuit and look at her head. She is wearing a white hat. Oh, look, the video of the boat getting towed. Teal swimsuit, white hat. And that's not all, folks. Again, turn your brightness all the way up because right here, we've got somebody wearing red trunks. Oh, and look what we have here. Red trunks. And here's those same red trunks on the shore right after the fight with Tristan. Katie is claiming that she allegedly caught a ride home with somebody named Marty McGrath. It just so happens that a Marty McGrath is the co-owner of the Biloxi Bay RV Resort and Marina in St. Martin. Here it is, and my, that is a massive dock way out in the water. And would you look at that? It's right next to the grandparents' house. Now, in that report with the GPS coordinates, didn't they say that they went southwest towards St. Martin Bayou? Yeah, that's right, it did. And it also took them 45 minutes to get to that boat ramp over there. That only takes about 6 minutes on land. Like I said, they are trying to take down my page. Make sure you are following my backup here. But Katie, I want to say one thing to you. You're young, and I know you don't realize this yet, but these are not your friends. Be a hero. Do what's right. This is now my 3rd.
She said Katie dry snitching, y'all. She say she getting to the bottom of it. She say she getting to the bottom of it, chat. She say she's getting to the bottom. She's been on it. Let's get to the next video, chat.
Have I found more evidence of a 4th boat? Not only have I found a lie in their timeline, but I have also discovered a deep political connection, not only to a former governor of Mississippi, but to Turning Point USA. So first off, this picture has surfaced in which it's clearly the group of boats a little bit further out in the water altogether. Now here's what is supposedly Bart's boat. We can see the Garmin on top, can confirm this black boat from this other picture. We can see Wyatt's Triton right here, and we can confirm that by the motor. As you can see right here, has that black stripe on the white motor. Now in between the 2 boats is the Palm Beach. You can clearly see it labeled, and it's got that stripe, right? As you can see, the stripe is there. And yet there's this design right here and no Palm Beach. And you may be like, Jay, that doesn't prove that it's a different boat. Maybe we just can't see it, even though it should be right there, according to this picture. But if you look in this video, you can see that there is a black propeller right there. See black propeller, and you can very clearly see the Palm Beach right there on the side. And if you look really carefully in this photo, you can see right there a black propeller. There's another boat on the other side of these 3 boats. And given the lack of the name on the boat and the black propeller, I'm going to assume the Palm Beach is on the other side, which means there's 4 boats right here. Then I rewatched Warren's interview.
I woke up at my buddy's house, and we went to McDonald's, got food. No one was not with me. And I went and got breakfast. I had my buddy's boat hooked up to my truck. And well, first I ran to my house, then I went to McDonald's and came back, and the boat was already hooked up to my truck. My buddy Wyatt and I went and with my buddies, and we went, filled the top of the boat off, loaded it down with ice, and just got everything ready. Then Wyatt went and put his smaller boat in the water, which is the Palm Beach. He's 18-foot Palm Beach, and Wyatt, I drove the boat from Fort Bayou boat launch to my buddy's grandparents' house, and that's where we all planned to meet up that day.
So Wyatt had his buddy's boat already hooked up to the back of his truck. He said he and Wyatt and his other buddy went and got ice and filled up the boats. And Wyatt went and put the Palm Beach, his smaller boat, into the water. And we know that there was a second boat, the Triton, that was driven by Wyatt. Wyatt had 2 boats in the water. Who was driving his other boat?
Nolan was on Wyatt Pyron's 22 Triton. On the way out, I went with my buddy Bart because we had a lot of friends from college coming down, and Bart, I called Bart that morning. I was like, "Hey man, can you take your boat out?" And he was like, "Yeah, well, my dad's decided not to go, and I'll take the boat and I'll take you and your friends." Of course, I mean, he's a buddy of mine. And so Bart pulled up at the dock, and I mean, I rode out there with Bart and a lot of the girls that go to college with my friends and I, and Nolan rode out on the Triton, and then we had a Palm Beach, 18 Palm Beach. There was 4 guys on that. There was like 8 people on the Triton, and then there was 8 or 9 people on the Triton, and then there was the rest of the group, which was ranged from maybe 10 to 15 or 16 people.
Now, wait a minute. So Warren already had a boat hooked up when he woke up that morning. I'm assuming that that had to be the Triton that was hooked up, right? Then he said that Wyatt went and put his smaller boat, the Palm Beach, into the water. Then Warren said that he was the one who drove the Palm Beach to their friend's dock. Assuming that Wyatt drove the Triton to the dock and Bart drove his own boat to that dock, who drove the Palm Beach out to the water then? Because he said that he got a ride in with Bart, even though at one point during the interview, he said all of his stuff was on the Palm Beach. So it sounds to me like Warren was the one driving the Palm Beach. I'm also like, what parent would let their kid, who's obviously going off to party, take 2 of their boats and let them let their drunk friends drive? Like, it isn't making sense to me. I mean, maybe these parents are just shitty parents and irresponsible. Then he also said that he contacted Bart that morning to see if he could come. And Bart was like, yeah, I can give all your friends a ride, blah, blah, blah. According to him, there were 10-ish people, 15 people on that boat. So where were those people originally supposed to ride in on? They'd been planning it for weeks. They were excited about it. Why did Bart have to suddenly step in and take all these people? And remember, Bart said that his dad had canceled going out on the boat that day, so he could do it. Something's not adding up here. I think there was an adult somewhere in this mix. It would also explain how they all thought quickly on their feet with the sea tow. And I wouldn't be surprised if an adult didn't come out there and just go off with other adults that were also on Horn Island and let the kids hang out with the boats. Here's where things are going to get interesting, folks. There are more GPS coordinates in the report than what we have seen publicly. I'm going to play you a clip from the interview, but remember, at 5:30 is when they started picking up regular speed, all right? It's right here, 525, speed miles, 30 to 35 knots. So here we go.
Planed off and you have water in the boat and you're hauling, we're going pretty fast. We're going probably 40, 42 miles an hour. And so all that excess water that was built up in the boat is coming out of the boat. So, I mean, that's what we had to do. So we ran into Fort Bayou.
Okay, what happened in Fort Bayou?
We didn't just run straight to my buddy's grandparents' house. We ran into Fort Bayou. A couple of us jumped in the water. And Wyatt, the whole reason for the stop was so Wyatt could hop in and put the plug back in the boat.
I thought Bart hopped in because on the call, they said it was Bart. Bart, while you're down there, that's what Wyatt said, but you just said it was Wyatt. Uh-oh.
So then after that, we went and docked it, and I went back to my buddy's house, and we ate. And, napped for a little bit. It was a long day at the islands.
Now, you heard him. He said that they took off going 40 miles an hour, and they didn't go to his buddy's grandparents' house, but they went to Fort Bayou to go do a plug thing. Except right here, 5:44, vessel arrives at El Camino Road. 8 minutes later, then it departs from El Camino Road and headed east into Fort Bayou. So right there, we have a lie. The boat did stop before going into Fort Bayou. 6 minutes later, it comes back to El Camino Road, and the vessel departed El Camino Road half an hour later, headed southwest to St. Martin Bayou, and then turned southeast into Biloxi Bay Bridge. Then they went back to the Bayou boat launch. Then the boat was taken to Cardinal Lane, which was Wyatt's residence. Now, because I am an absolute genius, I was able to find it. This was where they left and where they came back that day, then came back several times. Now, first off, why aren't we seeing footage of them returning that day? We know that Nolan was with them when they left. So why do they have the security cams from that morning, but not that night? Whose grandparents live there? Jax Patalo, whose family owns a pharmacy. It goes back deeper than that because George Patalo Sr., which is Jax's great-grandfather who is deceased, as it turns out, his great-grandfather was appointed and served on the staff of Mississippi Governor Cliff Finch. As you can see, I've confirmed Jax's relation to him. And as it turns out, Cliff Finch, well, he was in the Mississippi House of Representatives from 1960 to 1964 and supported racial segregation and backed the racist governor, to preserve segregation in the state. The federal grand jury conducted a 3-year-long investigation into his administration and several state agencies, and they were all accused of corruption and mismanagement. Finch was never found guilty himself, but some of his aides and appointees were indicted. And those sort of political connections seem to trickle down through the generations, so now we know why the governor got involved. And I started looking into the lawyer that's handling the defamation case from the Bart family. So from 2015 to 2018, he was state director of Americans for Prosperity. Then in 2018 to 2020, he was vice president of Stand Together while being vice president of Americans for Prosperity. Stand Together is a Charles Koch nonprofit, and Americans for Prosperity is a libertarian conservative political advocacy group affiliated with Charles Koch and David Koch. And if you don't know who the Koch brothers are, they're fucking evil. Guess who's one of the major funders for Turning Point USA? Major donors for the Koch brothers also are primary financial pillars for Turning Point USA, specifically their campus operations. And guess who used to serve as the director of urban engagement? Not only have I found more evidence of a fourth vote, not only have I found a lie in their timeline, but I have also discovered a deep political connection, not only to a former governor of Mississippi, but to Turning Point USA. So first off, this picture has surfaced in which it's clearly the group of boats a little bit further out in the water altogether. Now here's what is supposedly Bart's boat. We can see the garment on top, can confirm this black.
Woo, chat. Did she get to the bottom of some, or did she get to the bottom of some? That's not all. I got to.
Obviously, you're getting to some bit of a truth where it's triggering people to have the people at TikTok remove some of your videos. So just tell us a little bit about, what's been happening so far with that.
Yeah, honestly, I'm pretty much used to it at this point because I've been spending the last year covering the Epstein files even before the Transparency Act was.
So yep.
Yeah, so I started out in the Karen Reed trial. That's where I really found my dot connecting groove. I was pretty famous for my 6-foot-tall whiteboard.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I transitioned from there. That's when I really was able to.
And delivering news and just views. I'm sure to you, it's just like, for a lot of us, it's like, well, wait a minute, they've opened themselves up to almost discovery in a way by talking. Like they did not have to go on there. And I feel like they're revealing so much. And can you kind of walk us through just a little bit for people who might not be familiar with you or the videos you've been putting up, just some of the pieces of this case or inconsistencies you've found?
So real quick, we gonna get into some of the inconsistencies and things that she found, but what she said is right. The worst chess move that they ever did, the worst thing that they could have did was do that goddamn podcast. Because if some of those things that Warren said doesn't add up, at least in a civil lawsuit, all you got to prove is just a little bit.
Really know how culpable Warren is in this whole mess. The judge is way more culpable than Warren. We caught Warren in some lies, and it was a very, very bad thing to put Warren on that podcast because, we could tell some fuck shit was going on just because the stories wasn't adding up. So that was, if y'all would have just not let him go on that podcast, you would it would be way less obvious that shit was, but now that podcast is out in the world forever. And it, really raises a lot of suspicions because of all the lies. Now, does somebody lying mean they're a murderer? No, absolutely not. But when you add the judge coming in and stepping out of line, and then you add how they're all in bed together, and Yeah, then it's like, okay, now we have to investigate, because what the fuck, y'all? Just too many weird stories.
Is she right? Or is she right?
Yeah, absolutely. It really started when I found the Marina report, the Mississippi Resources Department. And finally, for the first time, I was able to get officer accounts of who said what and when things happen. And that's when I was able to start plotting data points. And the first thing I noticed was it said that the deputies had reported that they talked to several of the friends who were on the boat with Nolan, and they said that he was in the company of an unknown female. Well, that wasn't really jiving with me. And then I started watching, because obviously at that point I'd seen the clips and stuff from the interviews, and the interviews were obviously very biased. Trayston seemed very hostile to me.
Yes.
And I immediately noticed the defensive positions in their body lange, their voices. And I watch a lot of Judge Judy. That's kind of what I do for fun.
Before we get back to that, I just want to show y'all this. I'm gonna show you 2 more videos from my big room lawyer, and then we're gonna leave it at that. All right, is that cool, chat? All right, give me 2 seconds. We're gonna get back to her in this interview, and then that's gonna be it.
At this point, after the CETO audio came out and was isolated, I'm not interested in even commenting on anything anymore, because a picture could come out tomorrow of him dangling from a tree and they'll say he climbed up there doing drugs and fucking hung himself. So, what more? You don't understand, right? So it's like anything that we put out there, they're immediately going to say is fake or this or that. And so it's like, at this point, I'm only discussing the case on Patreon, because I don't even want to tip my hand no more, because now it's getting serious now, and it doesn't matter what evidence. I mean, it doesn't matter what evidence comes out. They're going to deny it. They're going to try to say it's fake. That's what they have. The ops are doing that. That they're paying people to do that. All the blogs are being paid to say that. So it's like, what's the point? Oh, Katie was on a boat or this, that. It doesn't matter. At this point, after the CETO.
All right. So what she's saying is kind of correct. They paying a lot of people. The CETO call, until somebody refutes that, man, oh man. Man, oh man. It's going to get serious. We're going to get to a few more of her videos before we get back into my girl, who I believe has cracked the case.
This is my major question, okay? How come, what were y'all doing all July 5th in the morning? What were y'all doing? Y'all waited till dark, 6 p.m. Y'all waited to go out and look, and then it was like, oh, the weather's getting bad. We can only look for an hour. Let's stop. What were y'all doing from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. that day on July 5th, when the call was placed at 11:49 p.m. on July 4th by Miss Christine? What were y'all doing all day long? We know all night you went and talked to the friends, but what were y'all doing all day when you could have searched to make you go at 6 p.m. when it started getting dark, when the weather was getting bad? What the fuck, Coast Guard? This is my major question. Okay.
She proves a point, does she not? She proves a point, does she not? And then the question comes, if they have nothing to hide, truly, if they have nothing to hide,
They could have said they went out there with 3 boats, and here's all the 3 boats' GPSs. Instead, backtrack. What they did, they gave us the GPS of 1 boat, then tried to say the boat was towed. Then CETO had to come and say, y'all not taking my fucking business over this bullshit. And they the only ones that actually stood up for what's right. Because they're not going to be taken down by y'all's raggedy stories. So if they had nothing to hide, the first day they would have released all 3 of them GPSs all day and all hours of the night, instead of just the 1 raggedy 1 boat. Then they were trying to go to that random place in Fort Bayou that nobody knew where it was. Now we know where it was, and now they got mad when the GPS coordinates matched. Okay? I didn't make those GPS coordinates match. Y'all should have given us the GPS of a different boat then. Dumbasses. That's y'all shit y'all released. Y'all got hung on y'all's own shit, bitch ass. First day, they could have said they went out there with 3 boats. and here's all the 3 boats GPSs. Instead, backtrack. What they did, they gave us a GPS of one
I'm playing it again for a reason. Listen to what she's saying, y'all.
boat, then tried to say the boat was towed. Then Cito had to come and say, y'all not taking my fucking business over this bullshit. And they the only ones that actually stood up for what's right. Because they're not going to be taken down by y'all's raggedy stories. So if they had nothing to hide, the first day they would have released all 3 of them GPSs all day and all hours of the night instead of just the one raggedy one boat. Then they were trying to go to that random place in Fort Bayou that nobody knew where it was. Now we know where it was, and now they got mad when the GPS coordinates matched. Okay? I didn't make those GPS coordinates match. Y'all should have given us the GPS of a different boat then, dumbasses.
Chat, does she not make a valid point? Chat, does she not make a valid point? Does she not make a valid point, chat? Asking for a friend.
People are so rich and powerful, and they have so much privilege. They're so used to people just saying yes to them that they really thought they were going to release anything to the fucking news with a GPS, and we were just going to buy it. They were deliberately trying to not tell us who the fuck was going on in Fort Bayou, okay? And then we used the GPS coordinates to figure it out. So their privileges, their heads so far up their fucking ass full of privilege, they can't even see that the shit they released is what they're getting fucking hung on. Their own shit. These people are so rich and powerful, and they have so much privilege. They're so used to people just saying yes to them that they really thought they were going to release anything to the fucking news with a GPS, and we were just going to buy it. They were deliberately trying to not tell us who the fuck was going on in Fort Bayou, okay? And then we used the GPS coordinates to figure it out. So their privileges, their heads so far up their fucking ass full of privilege, they can't even see that the shit they released is what they're getting fucking hung on. Their own shit.
Yeah. Because then when that Cito came out, when that Cito call came out, funny, man.
Make matters even better, the goofy on the phone, who could tell that the operator was like not buying it, the goofy on the phone tried to make a pull the plug story, and he didn't even realize that incriminated his friend by saying his name. I ain't saying none of that shit. That's them people on the fucking call saying that. So you prove what that means now in court. And to make matters even better, the goofy on the phone, who could tell that the operator was like not buying it, the goofy on the phone tried to make a pull the plug story, and he didn't even realize that incriminated his friend by saying his name. I ain't saying none of that shit.
Because he said, Bart, pull the plug. Bart, pull the plug. Then Warren hopped on the podcast. If I had that clip on a pull up. Warren said he told Wyatt to pull the plug. Yeah, you incriminated your friend, my guy. Idiot. Yeah. A couple more videos from my bedroom lawyer, then we're gonna get back to the original.
Took my YouTube over this.
Hold on. My bad, y'all. My bad. I did want to play this though. I do want to play this though.
Miss Christine has no duty to respond to anyone, but the Coast Guard has a duty to respond to the mother of the person missing and get out there immediately and start searching the water, not 18 hours later. You goofball head ass asking the wrong question. Miss Christine has no duty.
Facts. because the Coast Guard going to be on the hook for getting sued for negligence. Just throwing that out there, just in case nobody knew. Yeah, the Coast Guard, you have to come into the front of the congregation eventually. Because how come you didn't send anybody right away? How come? Just asking for a friend. But let's get back to our last video of the day. Well, second to last video of the day.
I've probably seen 1,000 episodes of Judge Judy in my spare time.
Okay.
And she says that if they're a teenager, if their mouth is open, they are lying. And then she also says, if something doesn't make sense, it's probably not true. And that's kind of the philosophy that I go by when I approach my content. So that's really where it started from there. And I just went through and like I said, I'm famous for my whiteboards. I've got about 8 of them.
Yes.
It started out as an ADHD thing, and it's really just become my biggest investigative tool. Because sometimes also I need to see it.
All right, man. Let's get to the goddamn story.
Yeah. So right there, I'm like, and I'm Wyatt himself had said that the Marine reports, I started plotting out the timing, and then I noticed that they had said that they had taken coordinates from Wyatt himself earlier when they were first doing their drone searches. And I noticed that those coordinates were different than the ones that the officer took a picture of when the mom showed them. So right there, I'm like, where did they get those other coordinates from then?
Right.
So yeah. And then just different techniques and stuff that I've done through I've honed throughout the years. You know, just go into MapQuest and just driving down the road until I see something familiar, you know, stuff like that. So I started plotting out the area of this stuff because I grew up with boats. Like my dad had a speedboat. We had a place in Florida and stuff. So I am like familiar like with how they work, not like an expert or anything, but I'm not I'm not unknown. And when they said that they were sinking because too many people were getting in and out of the water, I was like, that's not how boats work.
Right.
And so then I started like learning how the bilge pump works and et cetera. And it would just lead from one road to the next road to the next road. I'm trying to think what one of the major discoveries that I had in my videos, because like you said, I've put over like 3 the last day.
It's crazy. Well, I remember what you were saying. Like now, I had seen something where the coordinates which they said actually almost on the sandbar, and I remember seeing one of your videos saying that if that many people are getting on the boat, that's not how it works. A boat doesn't just kind of sink or take on water. And then you were talking about
it's a hot day. The water is also drying. We all saw the pictures of everybody on the boats. The boats weren't like soaking wet with water because there were only a couple people on each boat. Like
yeah, exactly. And so yeah, because I remember you were talking about the bilge pump, and then them. I guess they were talking about speeding away. Like, do you recall any of like the inconsistencies within Warren's interview that you had kind of found?
For the inconsistencies with like the speeding away, like that whole thing just is very weird to me. And the time when he claims that they were like going fast to like do to drain it, and then to go and stop off someplace to go do the plug. Well, the area that they went off to is actually near a home of one of the people that was sent to be interviewed, like a knock and talk is what the report called it. A knock and talk. One of the 3 people whose names they gave, that were the 2 boys didn't answer their doors, but the girl was like, I haven't seen him in like a year. I was on a different island. I don't know what you're talking about.
To be quite honest with you, I don't think we need to like, because I thought he was going to ask like some candid questions about some of her videos. We ain't going to continue to watch it. So I'm going to zim through it because I know it's one part that I particularly want to get to. But if we're being honest, the most important thing that this woman has said or this woman has found, right, was that Officer Tatum, he's on their payroll. Officer Tatum is getting paid by Warren's people and then Warren's friends. That's why he went on the podcast. Because Officer Tatum is being paid by it. Just if you need to rewind and go back a little bit, she said it.
So wonder if that's maybe what they were doing there. And like I don't consider myself an investigative journalist because I do not have that education behind me. I don't have where the interview out there. I'm like,
get to the point.
In your personal opinion, you know, like if you run us through, like, what do you think happened here? I mean, do you think this was an accidental thing? I mean, do you think, I mean, do you have any like thoughts on like how the fights? It seems like, you know, Warren said his brother Ike got into a fight and then they're into jujitsu. And I know some people allegedly were talking about, you know, we know from the second autopsy that Nolan had a red marking on the back of his neck, which could be consistent with if somebody had choked him out, or Trayston himself said he got into a fight. And I like how you said on your video that Trayston is like, you know, I got into a fight and whatever, you know, because some guy didn't like how he was talking to his girlfriend, and it's very evident, you know, just in seeing Trayston on there, that it's just so funny to share something like that. Like I would never share something like, oh, you know, like some guy wanted to fight me because I was yelling at my wife. Like it's just odd, you know, they overshare it in a way, you know.
Well, and I suspect that comes with the Latina, the lawyer that they've hired. I suspect that this has all been some bad attempt at media training, PR that's gone wrong, because they didn't take into account like the report and stuff coming out like basically the same day as the interview, because obviously they filmed the interview a couple days prior.
Sure.
And then it was only once the interview came out and it wasn't stopping, it didn't answer anybody's questions. That's when they started throwing out the lawsuits and stuff. And I can tell, and I don't know if you noticed, because I make sure to go and check when I have suspicious comments being like, oh no, this is all wrong. No, you're wrong. He drowned. I always go and I check those people's profiles to see whether they're real or not. And if you have more followers than you have likes, then you're probably a bot.
No, I mean, they're either bots or I was talking about this today. I think it should be illegal to have a fake account, because it's so cowardly. And I'm sure you do too, I get so many hateful messages, or people will come up in this feed or something and say the worst things. And then you go to the page and it's not a picture of them. They have like no followers, no pictures, and it's just a burner account, you know? And I think it's just so coward, because people like us, we're out in the open. People see our faces, they see us talking, they know our names, like we're putting ourselves out on the line, and all these racists who are mad about us speaking this way, you know, they're literally hiding behind an internet hood, if you will.
I'm a fat woman on the internet. Like,
stop it.
I am.
You're beautiful. What are you talking about?
And they're right there, Sam.
Yes.
That's what you never say. Because you're implying that fat, it can't be beautiful.
No, you're beautiful. You're beautiful. I'm just looking at you on this camera. No, you're beautiful.
I know. I have to give you a little something because I know that
I think you look perfect. I wouldn't ever see you as that. So
I am a 100% comfortable in my own skin. You don't have to worry about me.
Me too.
I have a theater degree.
Yeah,
I used to be judged for a living.
Yeah, I'm chunky, or on the chunky side, at least that's what a lot of my families. My dad just told me, he's like, I think you should get on Manjaro. And I'm like, God, Dad, I'm like, thanks, you know. Like,
you know what? Let those GPH ones or whatever cause everybody's like pancreases to give out. I don't care at this point. I'm like, if y'all are willing to risk things for that, like, I am 100% happy in my fat body. Thank you very much.
Me too. I just love to eat too much. You know what I mean? Like I work out and everything, but it's like, I love eating. I love food. And it's like,
cooking is how I de-stress.
Yeah. So, okay, we'll get off our bodies. Off of our bodies for a second. Now tell us a little bit about Officer Race Tatum. I saw a video lately that you were, because a lot of people don't know he was working at TPUSA, and kind of tell us a little bit about some of those dots you connected with that.
Absolutely. So it was very obvious from the first time I watched that interview that he was leading these children. Like he would steer the topic away. He would almost encourage the jumpiness and the ADHD-ness of especially Warren's interview, because it made it harder to follow the timeline. Anybody who's telling a story just says, this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened. You don't
Mhm.
need to talk about the mechanics of the bilge pump. You can talk about that later afterwards as some follow-up. But no, because you'll notice that in that entire thing, they don't actually talk about, did Nolan walk away after he said he was going to stay? Did you guys zoom away right away? Because according to them, they're saying that it was around 3:00 that this fight happened. But Javon, if you go back to his first TMZ interview, he clearly says that it was about 3:45, 4:00 when the fight happened, which would align with the dots, which makes more sense. So and you asked as far as like what my theories about like drowning, about that sort of stuff. I did want to mention that the way I work and my process is I assume the closest to what has been told until evidence points me in a different direction. So at this point, I am working off of it was an accident. Like, because I'm not here to accuse anybody. Like, it was an accident. They panicked. They were liable in some way for however it happened. And the parents are the ones who are like, but all of our money will be gone if we get sued.
Yeah, I think you're right. I feel that same way, that I don't know if it was something malicious. I feel like it was an accident. And it's like, I don't know if you remember that one movie. It was like Jeremy Piven, and they were all in Vegas, and he accidentally killed a prostitute that he was having sex with, and it's a bachelor party. I forget what the movie is. It's really hilarious. But they're like, oh my God, what do we do? It was an accident, but they are like, the whole movie is about them going through trying to cover this whole thing up. And I don't know, maybe it's not the best example, but that's what I feel maybe did happen. And like you're saying, there's underage kids. Like, I think that's the odd part that nobody's addressing. Like, they're all drinking. They're underage. They're driving boats, which is like drunk driving.
Oh, I saw in the Karen Reed trial, like Karen's blood alcohol level was so important to the case, not mentioning that everybody else was just as wasted, drunk driving caravans. Like it's as we see, it's like the black child has to defend his character after he dies, like, and it's something that's so frustrating, and I see it over and over again. Something that occurred to me today is I thought, what if there's a possibility that the boats were so overcrowded that maybe he just simply fell off and they literally didn't notice for hours?
I mean, and that's possible, them being so
But then it doesn't explain how his body showed up in the same place. So that's where we're getting the problems at. And to circle it back to Tatum.
Sure.
So when I was looking into the lawyers, one thing I learned, the number one takeaway I can tell you from the Epstein files is follow the lawyers, because the lawyers hold the key to all the criminality. They are the gatekeepers. They are the information holders. They are the only ones who are dealing with the most honest information. So when you start to connect the dots of who the lawyers spend their time working for, who the lawyers are connected to, who their clients are, you start to see a pattern. And with him, we saw the pattern where he was working for not one, but two Koch brother organizations. One of them with the political advocacy, one with a political advocacy agenda, and one to help the children or whatnot, like with those charter schools. And I actually received a message earlier, a couple hours ago. Thank you to whoever sent me this. That in 2013, the Koch brothers actually lobbied Governor Reeves.
Tate Reeves, the governor.
Tate Reeves, Tate Reeves. They lobbied him for those charter schools. So there is that connection as well, which just connects back to the Koch brothers, then to the lawyer, all that stuff. And then the grandparents, the great grandfather of the boat dock that they came back and forth to, throughout the day, I found that he literally he was on the staff appointed by the Governor Finch back in 1970s. And he had been pro-segregation. Like he was aligning with pro-segregation.
Hey, but we're not racist here in Ocean Springs. We're not racist.
Well, the notion that just goes away after the laws change, and that it takes years and generational education.
Right.
to like
No, that's
go away
passed.
from that?
Racism is passed down from generation to generation. And I don't know if you see this comment up. Somebody just said Sam is the white Tatum, which is pretty hilarious because there's just a little bit of a difference. And I think, racist white people, they don't understand, like, Officer Tatum is being paid, and we see this like TPUSA, they hire him to appeal to comforting white fragility. Me, nobody is hiring me. I just happen to have been involved in the Black comedy community my whole career. I care about the culture. I have a lot of friends, family. So I love Black people. I love the culture. And I see it clearly what has happened, and I understand history. And it's funny, somebody even said something disgusting about Christine Walmsley in one of the Facebook groups. They're like, oh my God, have you seen her? She's just going on a tour and and she's just making money.
She's advocating for her child.
Yeah, and I'm like, are you sure you're not talking about Erica Kirk? Like, these are the same people who love Erica Kirk, and there's nothing wrong, but she had like a WWE like memorial for her husband, bragging about making $200,000 in merch. And it's I guess I don't like double standards. I'm like, if you're gonna feel one way, you have to keep it through and through. But it's like people are so disgusting, with how they've treated the mother and how they left 1-star reviews on her. It's like, this woman lost her son, like she's grieving so hard, like, and then sorry, I'm skipping around our ADHD, but like with Trayson, like, him hiring Crump, bringing Crump down here, he doesn't know who he's messing with, and it's
I guarantee you they didn't hire Crump. I guarantee you Crump reached out to them.
Exactly. I mean, but that's also too, that's how it works. But
that's how it works.
And this is your best friend's mother who hired an attorney to help her get justice for your best friend and get to the bottom of it. Why would you be angry about it? And then further, like, you guys are starting Give, Send, Go accounts for yourself. Like,
yeah, the Sarah rich doctors in their $1 million homes need some charity, guys. And then if you can't afford it, why'd you put up the reward? The $50,000 reward. And I'm like, if there's nothing to find, why did you put out a reward?
Right. And do you notice
a month later?
Yeah, and we haven't heard much about those two witnesses that TMZ
because they don't
reported.
Exist.
Exactly.
Because they don't exist.
The audio came out, right? Janetta Brantley, thank God for her, like, for doing that. And brought, did her work on that. But then like a day later, oh, hey, we have these two witnesses who place him on the island. Well, this audio there is evidence there, regardless of if there's nothing there, if there's something that is an actual phone call that can be investigated more. But it's just, and I'm skipping around, but like with the park ranger, why is the park ranger anonymous? I think
no government official should ever be anonymous. And coming off of the Epstein files investigation I did, like seeing anonymous investigators, like when I'm like, I need to know your name so that I need to know if you're doing suspicious stuff.
Right.
Like even in reports, why are they blacked out? What, are you afraid someone's going to come to your house? You're a cop.
Right. And also somebody in the comments just said, why select Tatum's channel a red flag, Diva 369? And I totally agree, because it's you're telling us how you view the world. You're telling us you support TPUSA. You're telling us you're ultra MAGA. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it was the wrong platform. Like, if they had gone on, I don't know, it's hard to say, like, what is the, NPR or like,
the only reason
PBS,
they got Tatum is because he was their puppet. Like, they knew he would just do what they wanted to. There would be no pushback. There would be no follow-up questions.
Exactly.
He says Warren says multiple times. Last time I saw him was 3. The boat was sinking. We just wanted to get out of there. Okay, so did Bart pull your boat from the shore?
Right.
Like, what you're saying isn't making sense, and they know it's not making sense. But the reason I think we found out that they have to say that they left at 3, like that was the last time they saw him, is because the Cajun Navy report just came out that he was spotted at about 3:45.
Yeah, and it's like, why get out in such a hurry? I mean, I get you know, it seems like they had some fights. Tristan even said his uncle's like, get on the boat, we gotta get out of here. And
Right, and they all left. Like, that's why
and
I'm
they
saying,
all
like,
left. Right, because why would you get there at 11:15, you're partying all day, like who's going to leave at 4:30? Like, I understand leaving before sunset, but I'm imagining sunset around that, you know, time. It's probably maybe around 8 o'clock or something.
Yeah.
So you could have probably at least left by it's just weird that they kind of hightailed out of there. And, you know, the whole thing that I think is just a mystery for everyone, you know, they said, oh, he was last seen with Katie, but then Katie, we haven't heard anything from her saying
well,
where he
now
went.
that we have heard something from her.
Right. Yeah. So talk about that a little bit, right? She
Yes.
just dropped those
The
pictures.
way
from
last
the
night,
thing.
the way last night I was just, you know, gardening, because that's the only way to turn my brain off sometimes. Well, it wasn't working because I was like, wait a minute. Because there's one picture, because once I saw her teal swimsuit, my little Rolodex brain flipped to like through, like, I'm like, teal. I know that color has come up because there's the kid in the teal shorts. And then there's the girl on the boat, like with the leg, whatever. There's the girl, like she was wearing a teal swimsuit.
Right.
And so that's when I saw that when she was wearing teal, I started digging into those pictures. And there's one picture you can tell they tried to alter, or allegedly tried to alter the levels of the color, the saturation, because they were trying to hide the color of her swimsuit, because it's where you can see the most of it. And they were trying to hide the white hat she was wearing, the backwards white baseball cap.
Right.
And as anybody who's seen my videos today, the girl on the boat, one of the two girls that were on the Triton when they were getting towed in by Bart, was wearing a teal swimsuit and a backwards baseball cap, white backwards baseball cap. So that right there, if that, like, to me, that seems like the most concrete evidence that Katie was with them on that boat. That Katie somehow became a scapegoat. Someone panicked and just threw out a name, and they're like,
Katie did it. Right. Katie was with him. Right.
Because as we know, she was unknown female to the officers that night when they called. And there's no, you can't deny, like, there's nothing that you can do to deny that swimsuit, that white baseball cap. If what you guys are saying is true, why was she on your boat when you're saying that Nolan was going to stay with her? It completely blows everything up. Like, this is the smoking gun here, folks. And I even sent it to Ben Crump's legal team. Like, I'm hoping they see it. Yeah, I sent an email.
I have their direct access. If you want after this, you know, I can, if you haven't already, I've been in contact with them. So just sending them.
I'm going to say, I'm like, if you want to on my behalf, just that way they know it's coming from a trusted source they've already dealt with.
Yeah, no, I would love to. Just what I'll do is I'll CC you on the email. So that way, because I really think a lot of what you're doing, some of it, you know, and I've kind of had to do this. Like, I was almost going to share with people, and I know we're doing it now. Like, hey, you guys have to follow Jay Megan. But one of my friends kind of made the point, like, of course I want to turn people on to you, but I also don't want to tip people off. Like, I think for some things that you have is almost better off giving to the legal team. So like that, you know, like people aren't seeing every play and things you're figuring out. Obviously it's all up to you. But like, you know,
I'm gonna say, I'm like, because everything that I'm connecting the dots to are like not really gotchas. It's just, hey, did anybody notice this? Does me? And I also like, I like to have feedback from my audience. Like, I'm someone that I'm like, if there's something that I'm wrong about, tell me. I want to know. I will take it down. Like, I'm not here. Like, that's why I don't put watermarks on my videos either. I'm not here to gatekeep information. To me, this is my community. This is like us working together on stuff. And some people like hate my style of reporting.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I love it. And
that's
I think
the thing
it's
is,
great,
I make content for
We don't hate
ADHD.
We don't.
Yeah, no,
so I have to keep
everybody.
energy.
Yeah, but no, you're great. I mean,
That's
I do the same thing, and I'm the same. I don't gatekeep on it. I view us. That's why I wanted to have you on here. You know, I view we're all a team. You know, we all have little bits of, you know, we're all part of this wheel to help get justice for Nolan. I mean, there's Daniel Irving. I mean, there's thousands of these cases, Kendrick Johnson, that, you know, we've really all come into focus. And I realize too, especially to the Black community, it's very important to have creators like you and I who actually care, who actually understand that there's a very underserved community that these stories are not being talked about it. And it's people like us who, and also all the Black creators getting it out, but independent journalists who push this story. Yeah,
Y'all
you
gotta
know,
put
who
a white-
push
the
this
black people in
story
there. Come on.
into, you know, none of these, you know, the Nancy Graces, the TMZs, the even Don Lemon, you know, we're like 3 weeks ahead of a lot of them on the reporting.
Oh yeah.
And so, you know, it shows how important we are to the new media generation, that, you know, we're not tonight on the news. We, you know, like people
Yeah.
want to see people like you, like, wow, you know, kind of
Yeah.
catching the attention. There's a little comedy in it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I kind of like to do my style as like a Daily Show, John Oliver
Yeah.
kind of thing.
And with that being said, yeah, we're gonna cut that off, chat. But I wanted to give them a little bit of spotlight because I was hoping that she really was gonna dive into like her theories or everything that she came up with even more in depth, and it was gonna really show it and things of that nature. But clearly I was very mistaken, chat. So my bad for torturing y'all through that. All right, I promise it will not happen again. Okay. I promise it will not happen again. But I was hoping that she was originally gonna get down to the nitty gritty with what she found. But with that being said, though, with this Nolan Wells case, it's getting to the point, man. It's getting to the point where hopefully, you know, the real comes out. And hopefully death threats on both sides actually stop, because it's not a good thing. And Attorney Crump has something to say about this as well. What you got to say, Attorney Crump?
Getting threats.
Yeah, there are a lot of sick people in this world. She's a nurse, and she hasn't gotten negative reviews in her career, but since she has been standing up and speaking out saying, we want answers, we want to know what happened to our son, somebody knows something, we're fighting for our son to get justice. We don't think that he would just drown and nobody would see anything. And for that I mean, she's been getting attacked at her job from saying she's not a good nurse, that she's been getting negative reviews, and it's very troubling because it just adds to the trauma that they're having to deal with after losing an 18-year-old son and having no answers about why your son is dead. I mean, he was preparing for his football season. He was doing phenomenally well. He said this was going to be his year. His father, who also was an athlete, they were focused in on this, and now they're having to answer to his little brothers, why is our big brother dead?
Yeah, and I'm hearing that she even receiving hate mail.
Oh man, they're getting all kind of attacks and threats, and you know, obviously, it's just a shame before God. We come and we start trying to fight for the life of this young Black child and to get answers, and then we get threats and death threats and attacks and hate mail and all this stuff. But you know, we're used to it because this is what we do. We're civil rights lawyers, and we know that civil rights leaders have always been attacked. Whether it was my personal hero, Thurgood Marshall, his life was always under threat when he was just trying to find out how did Black people end up hung in trees, castrated with their eyes bulged out. But they would blame us as being race baiters when we're saying, hold on, we want answers because if this was your loved one, if this was your family, then you want answers too. I mean, but we're made to be the people who are the bad people, and that is fine because they did it to, you know, Thurgood Marshall, they did it to Martin Luther King, they did it to Medgar Evers, they did it to Fannie Lou Hamer, they did it to, you know, Ida B. Wells, who documented that the state of Mississippi is the state that had the most lynchings in the history of America. And all of them were attacked for just trying to shed light, to speak truth to power, to try to say we have rights as Americans to the Constitution and to vote and to have the right to life and not to be wrongfully convicted. But all of those people I named my heroes were condemned by the state of Mississippi while they were fighting for equal rights. And so, you know, if people are going to condemn us, then I guess we're in good company with Thurgood Marshall and Martin Luther King and Medgar Evers and Fannie Lou Hamer and the great Ida B. Wells. I'm okay being in that company. My ancestors fought for us to be able to have a voice and speak truth to power. And shame on us if we don't speak truth to power when we have all of the education and legal acumen and resources to be able to go give a voice to those who don't have a voice, to be able to help fight for marginalized people, to help fight for what my grandmother called the least of these. Shame on us if we don't stand up and fight for them because our ancestors fought for us.
Let's drop a bomb for Benjamin.
You receiving threats too, right?
Oh man, they're making all kind of attacks and threats on me and Reverend Al and anybody else who's standing up. But we're used to that. That's just a distraction, you know. And we won't ever let them distract us. We're singly focused. We're on a ferocious search for the truth of what happened to Nolan Wells. And hopefully, everybody who claims to have known Nolan or befriended Nolan, hopefully they want that same truth. They like, we want to fight to show what is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as to what happened to Nolan Wells.
Yeah. And that's what we want. And we ain't going to stop till we get it. Like I told you, I'm going to continue to talk about this Nolan Wells case. I will continue to talk about this case because at the end of the day, I feel like this case is important. This case is important. And also, do not believe the fake report, the fake toxicology report. All right? Don't believe it. Just want to put this video out there, Secret Service Sam, since you've been kind of given the spotlight tonight on our show. Let's get one more update from you, my guy.
I'm here with a Nolan Xavier Wells update, and I want to tell everybody to be very careful because there is a fake toxicology report of Nolan going around the internet, and when you click on it, this is a way allegedly for the feds to track creators who are spreading false information. So just keep in mind, if this was released, it would be on every single national news. TMZ would be reporting it, ABC, all the fake news organizations and everything would be posting this. So stay woke.
Don't do what he did, but the toxicology report that y'all seeing, it is fake. All right, I just want to say that. I just want to say it is fake. But now, so that way y'all won't only take my word for it. It's fake. Jesus.
The purported toxicology report from Nolan Wells is circulating through social media on various outlets is fraudulent. Nolan's family, friends, and most importantly, Nolan himself deserve better. Fraudsters, AI, and social media are a recipe for disaster. All they want you to do is click and share. Don't.
I think it's one of the dangers that we face in the modern world where, evidence gets out into the public realm and it can be, and I'm not saying this was manipulated, but audio can certainly be manipulated. Pictures can be manipulated. Video can be manipulated and rather easily. And so, I think it's something that we have to keep in mind these days.
Nintendo also says the evidence will reveal the facts, adding that digital forensics professionals regularly analyze this type of information and should be allowed to examine
Just
it.
wanted to make sure we throw that out there.
So there you go. There's a warning. And then I mentioned earlier about the mother of Nolan Wells responding to some of the things that are out there, some of the things that people are saying, even some of the fake reports. Even the smearing of her son, because no matter what happens, look, no one deserved to die. We've been saying that all along, no matter what happens. Here's the mom in an exclusive interview on this very show on Friday morning.
We've seen this before, right? Pattern recognition. We've seen this where things have happened, especially when we talk about the Black community. And, after the death, it's a smear campaign. It's, what can we find out about this person? What can we say? And, that's something, my family and I, especially my husband and I, we definitely do not appreciate. But, we can't fight everyone that wants to have an opinion. But also, too, it's part of society that has been allowed to occur, which is it's gut-wrenching at best. Because if you were in our situation, how would you feel if there were millions of people who are saying, oh, hey, well, he was at an island, he was heavily drunk. And again, even with the drinking, there are so many conflicting stories, only because I have spoken with adults who knew Nolan very well, coaches that were out there. One in particular, I think he told me he saw Nolan somewhere between like 2:45 and 3:30. He was like, Christine, yeah, we talked for a while. We talked about college. We talked about his life, his plans. And he was like, he was perfectly fine. Because I think it had bothered him too, that there was this narrative of, oh, he was sloppy drunk. Like that's, and it started at the very beginning. It was, oh, he was sloppy drunk. I'm like,
why does that matter?
But was he though? Or is this a narrative that you guys want to use to kind of have us just accept that it was a drowning?
So that was a mom last week. Now, let me get to the threats that have been made against people and some of the false, when I tell people to slow your roll, and that's for some of you too, posting stuff online, and especially for some of the content creators. When you're posting stuff online and you're giving reports, you don't know exactly what's real and what's not. Now, according to a report last week, one of the young men who was involved or who was there, his parents said that they've retained an attorney.
That's a fact. And he's suing everybody. Just don't come over here. I ain't do nothing to nobody. But I showed this for a reason. This is the last video that we're going to hit on today as far as this Nolan Wells topic. All right. I just want to show this last part and then we out.
No, he's more
sermon this morning. How's it going, Don?
It's going. So why did you bring this up?
A whole sermon this morning.
Why did you bring this up?
Well, I brought it up because on Friday I wrote about it on the Substack, and it was concerning when I spoke to 6 lawmakers. A lot of comments were asking me to name the lawmakers that I spoke to, but I'm not here in the shaming game. But I spoke to 6 lawmakers. Only one of them, Cindy Hyde-Smith from Mississippi, actually had something to say about the case. Of course, she's from Mississippi, and she just said, "Let's let the state handle the investigation." But the fact that all 5 others had no really idea of Nolan's case, of the intricacies around Nolan, or even enough to speak to say, "Hey, yeah, I'm really sorry that a young man lost his life." And so I thought about that in contrast with not only the coverage that Gabby Petito got in the early days, that when she went missing, no one knew what had happened to her, but then also obviously after her death, because as you mentioned, that not just that Florida Gabby Petito Act passed, but there was a Help Find the Missing Act, also known as Billy's Law, that also passed at the federal level after Gabby Petito's death. And so lawmakers came out talking about her death. The state autopsy was just completed on Friday. That information may not even go to Nolan's family this week. I believe you mentioned it, Don, but I know his mother was on the show on Friday and said there's the possibility that could just go to the grand jury, not even to the family, because if there is a case that's going to happen, the family is not even going to see the autopsy. It's going to go straight to a grand jury. So I just contrasting those cases and the fact that lawmakers don't know about it. And if lawmakers don't know, that means probably a lot of the general public doesn't know about Nolan's case.
Thank you, Daniel. Very good information. And Daniel, I mentioned you and all the other things. You said I was preaching a sermon this morning. Did you agree or disagree on?
Listen, you said everything I have been saying from the start. And in fact, Don, I just don't know why it's crazy to say, let's wait for the investigation and for the facts to unfold. And in fact, I also saw this weekend, there were some conservative folks who came out and were kind of trying to, first say, oh yeah, we support Daniel saying, let's wait for the facts. But why is he coming for the investigators and the state of Mississippi? And I thought that was interesting too. Listen, I'm getting it from all ends, but I thought that was interesting because I'm not the one that came first for the state of Mississippi. The fact that Sheriff John Ledbetter came out within hours after Nolan was found and said, oh, we believe no foul play. Oh, we think he drowned. Without any evidence, any facts, the lead investigator on the ground, Sheriff John Ledbetter, said that. You can go and look it up. So that was concerning to me. The fact that he was making statements to other media outlets at first, wouldn't return our calls. Don, you called, I called, we spoke to his secretary. Probably up to 20, 30 times we spoke to his secretary. Now they're not even picking up the phone. I won't call. I'll leave a voicemail. They're not even picking up the phone for us. We're also really close to making headway with some other interviews that I can't even mention yet. But again, we are working actively to not only obviously report on this, but to have new information for you behind the scenes. So you're not even seeing half of the work that me and Don and all the team is doing to help bring updates in this case. Because again, as I said, I've been saying since day one, we're all on the same team. We all want justice for Nolan.
Yeah. Can we address this? Yeah. Gabby's Law came months after the crime was solved, and it wasn't widely talked about right away. Let's be real.
I don't grind on any.
All right. So there you have it, folks. I will have those interviews that they do coming at you. I will be updating you and giving you all the updates that you need to know about these Nolan Wells case as it continues to develop. The reason why I haven't been covering it as heavy as I was at first, because right now things are simmering down. Right now, it comes down to when will we get the autopsy results? When will the investigation be over so that way then they are interviewing or people are beginning to get arrested? Or the case is being presented to a grand jury. When will all this happen? When will all this happen? Man. So y'all tell me. Y'all tell me. When will this happen? When will we eventually get answers from this case? But until then, since we're not hearing anything from the sheriff's department, we're not hearing anything from the DA, we have to continue to lean on to our own understanding. So eventually, hopefully, we will get answers. Eventually, hopefully, Nolan Wells, whatever happened to him, it will be brought to light. We got hope. I got hope for that. It's going to take time, though. It's going to take time. But until then, at the end of the day, we ain't going nowhere. We ain't going nowhere. We ain't going nowhere. You understand me? We're going to get to the bottom of this. It's going to take time. Might not have any answers today. Might not have any answers tomorrow. But eventually we will get answers. I hope so. And for Nolan Wells, I pray that things will eventually be okay for you. Yeah. Yeah. So with the Cajun Navy, though, real quick, Don Lemon. All right, let's get to Don real quick. He did go through the whole Cajun Navy report. Do y'all want to see a little bit of that? Is it necessary to see a little bit of that? Potentially. I mean, what y'all want to do, chat? I'm going to show y'all a little bit of it because we're going to touch on it probably, if not tomorrow, then later on this week. All right? Let me pull it up for you. Let's go. Without further ado, Don Lemon. Can you come into the front of the congregation, please? Oh, my bad. Real quick.
And it doesn't determine criminal or civil responsibility. Okay? It doesn't do that. So let's pull it up and take them through. Let's start with page 1. So this is Nolan Wells, geospatial timeline and vessel movement analysis. And then it has Horn Island, Mississippi, July 4th, 2026. So this is what it was like out there. And so they put all the boats together that they have, right? They put all the boats together. Boat 1, boat X, boat 2, boat 3, Warren on Palm Beach. Okay. And so Warren is, what's his first name? Anyway, Warren Hudson is his first name. And so it says Warren on Palm Beach. Now, you might be thinking, well, this is kind of, maybe it's not what you think it is. Disappointing. Actually, it's not disappointing. I think it's exactly why it's worth reading this report and looking at it and giving it to you. Okay. Figure 1, annotated source image showing boat number 1, boat X, boat number 2, and boat 3 in relation to the Palm Beach viewpoint. Okay. So scroll up a little bit, Andy, so I can see social media. Already, they know what happened, as we have said this morning. Some people are convinced that this was an accident. Others are convinced that there was foul play involved in this. Some people think law enforcement has handled this professionally. Others believe that it hasn't been done. There are too many unanswered questions. They haven't really been transparent. They haven't been.
So you can go watch that on your own. I just wanted to show you it because it is out there. He goes through the whole Cajun Navy report that they just released. We will get into all that tomorrow. I'm not going to lie to you. We will get into all that tomorrow. I promise you. But I thank you for tuning in. I thank you for coming to today's update about Nolan Wells. Yes, I didn't give you a ton of information, but I gave you a bit. All right, we will continue to pray for Nolan Wells and his family. We will continue to pray for justice for Nolan Wells. And may whatever happened to him, whether it was accidental drowning or whether, it was foul play involved, hopefully we end up seeing justice, and hopefully what happened to him eventually comes to light. That's all we can hope for, and that's all we can want. So at the end of the day, God bless you, Nolan Wells. God bless the family of Nolan Wells. Hopefully the death threats stop on both sides of the aisle. And, you know, with social media, with the world we live in, people ain't going to stop, you know, being people and spreading fake news, saying this, saying that. People are going to be people at the end of the day. And it's unfortunate, but that's the world we live in. But eventually, hopefully things will be all right. Until then, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for always coming back and showing me love. I appreciate you, baby. And we will be back. Deuces. Hey, we live now, really.